Hey everyone, this is Steve with Tachyon Games. This is a video demonstration of how to play a couple turns in our game Invictus. As you can see, we have Demeter and Zeus facing off against Poseidon and Artemis in a 2v2 matchup. Right in the middle of the table, we have the marketplace. This is where players can purchase different types of artifacts in order to power one's abilities and execute other actions such as purchasing, standard attacks, healing, and blocking. Before we begin the match, I would like to explain a few things found throughout the table. In the marketplace, we have our currency of the gods. These are Prisma energy artifacts and are used to purchase and destroy items during the game. Next, we have our fire energy artifacts, which are also used for standard attacks. The effectiveness of a standard attack depends on a character's skill upgrades, which I will explain soon. Closer to the middle of the table, we have our wild energy artifacts. These can be used to power any need of a character ability. The beam rifle is also considered a standard attack and therefore relies on a character's skill upgrades as well. On the other side of the marketplace, we find our life energy artifacts, which can help power character abilities if a character needs life energy, but can also be used as healing to raise a player's HP ranging from 10 to 20 HP. Below are aqua energy artifacts. These are also used to block up to 20 to 30 damage. These are by default counters and can be used at any time to shield a player from damage dealing attacks. In the middle of the marketplace, we have the boost deck and the reinforcement deck. When setting up the table, make sure to leave space for a discard pile for both decks. The boost deck has two purposes. You may purchase a boost for 2 Prisma for various single-use abilities. These benefits can be used anytime, immediately, during a future turn, or as a counter. A purchase boost goes into a player's hand. However, it is not part of a player's 5-card hand limit, and a player can own as many boosts as they wish. The second purpose is used as probability during character abilities or standard attacks when instructed to do so. The reinforcement deck consists of long-term recruitments to help improve your advantage against the enemy. These can be purchased for 5 Prisma each. If you are ever wondering how much a boost or reinforcement costs, the prices are located in the top left corner of the cards or on your character skill upgrade cards. The last thing I'd like to explain before showing some gameplay is the character skill upgrades I mentioned before. A character's skills consist of accuracy, fire rate, and range. Accuracy is the probability of a standard attack hitting your opponent. At the beginning of the game, each player starts the game with a red token indicating that they have a 25% chance of dealing damage when using a standard attack. A player may choose to upgrade their accuracy by purchasing a color of their choice from the marketplace. If desired, a token can be purchased in any order. Next is fire rate. Fire rate is the number of standard attacks a player can use on a single turn. At the beginning of the game, players are limited to a single standard attack per turn. If desired, they can increase their fire rate by purchasing white tokens from the marketplace. Again, these can be purchased in any order. As an example, Demeter wishes to use both her beam rifle and soulfire in the same turn, but currently only has a fire rate of 1. By spending 6 Prisma, Demeter chooses to upgrade her fire rate to 2 in order to use 2 standard attacks in a single turn. Last but not least is range. Range refers to the distance or number of players a player can attack to their left or right. Standard attacks and some character abilities rely on range in order to be effective. For example, like everyone at the beginning of the game, Poseidon has a range of 1. This means the 2 people in range are Artemis and Demeter. Obviously, Poseidon does not want to attack Artemis, his teammate. If he wishes to attack Zeus, Poseidon needs to upgrade his range to 2 in order to reach him. Now, because Demeter has the least amount of health with 140 HP, she gets to start the game. First, all players draw 5 cards from their starting decks. In this case, Demeter starts with 4 Radiant Cores and her lone Clinker. In order to destroy the Clinker out of her hand and deck, she must spend or discard a single Prisma. For the final 3 Prisma in her hand, Demeter decides to purchase a Mystic Pearl from the marketplace in order to make larger transactions down the road. Because her hand is empty and cannot perform any more actions, Demeter ends her turn by drawing a new hand. In this case, because she only has one card remaining in her draw pile, Demeter must first draw the single card and then shuffle her discard pile in order to replenish her hand back up to 5 artifacts. Turn order will then continue clockwise to the next active player, which in this case is Poseidon. The first thing Poseidon decides to do is destroy the clinker in his hand by discarding 1 Radiant Core. With the remaining 2 Prisma in Poseidon's hand, he purchases a boost from the middle of the marketplace. He draws the Midas Touch, which allows him to replace 1 artifact in hand with its upgraded version on a future turn. Poseidon then attempts to deal damage to Demeter with his Gladius by discarding it into his personal discard pile. In order to see if the standard attack is successful, he then flips a boost card over. In this case, his standard attack misses because he needed to draw red in order to be successful. Like always, Poseidon draws a new hand in order to end his turn and permit Artemis to start her own turn. Artemis's first plan of action is to destroy her clinker from her hand. Because she has 2 Prisma remaining, she then purchases a boost from the middle of the table and receives Drone Surveillance. Artemis then uses her Gladius to potentially deal 10 damage to Zeus. Unfortunately, Artemis flips over a blue, which deems her standard attack unsuccessful because she currently can only hit on red. The first thing Zeus decides to do is place his Gladius in his charge station. He can use this artifact in order to power one of his abilities if he wishes, but he primarily charged the Gladius as a cheap way of removing it from his hand and deck. In order to make large purchases down the road, Zeus then buys a Mystic Pearl worth 2 Prisma with 3 Radiant Cores. Because he wishes not to use the last Radiant Core in his hand, he can only draw 4 artifacts this turn to replenish back up to 5 total. With Zeus's turn over, we have officially gone full circle around the table and are back to Demeter. Now, because Demeter's abilities do not require fire energy and she isn't entirely interested in keeping her Gladius, she really wants to destroy it in her hand. If she does, she doesn't need to worry about it clogging up her hand down the road. Well, you're probably thinking, why doesn't she just charge it like Zeus charged his own Gladius? To answer your question, characters can only charge artifacts or energy if their character abilities allow them to. In other words, Zeus can only charge fire energy and life energy, while Demeter can only charge life energy and Prisma energy. So with that in mind, Demeter discards 2 Radiant Cores to permanently remove her Gladius from the game. She then spends 2 Prisma in order to purchase a boost card. She draws Oracle, which allows her to review the top 3 boost cards and rearrange them in any order. At the end of her turn, she replenishes her hand and has enough Prisma to purchase a Nova Shard on her next turn. Poseidon spends 3 Prisma to purchase a Mystic Pearl. Because Poseidon can charge fire energy, he places his Gladius in the charge station. Lastly, he leaves the remaining Radiant Core in hand and replenishes his hand back up to 5 artifacts. Just like Demeter, Artemis plans on destroying her fire energy card too. Because a Gladius's destruction cost is 2 Prisma, Artemis discards 2 Radiant Cores and removes the Gladius from the game. With the last 2 Radiant Cores in hand, Artemis buys a boost card which deals 10 damage to all enemy players immediately. Because Artemis destroyed both Gladius and Clinker, she can now start investing in energy types that benefit her abilities on her following turn. At the beginning of Zeus's turn, he destroys the final Clinker. With the remaining 4 Prisma, he buys 2 boost cards. Both boosts must be used on future turns, the first being Sabotage and the second being Critical Hit. At the end of Zeus's turn, he shuffles his discard pile and draws all 5 artifacts into his hand. Now that you have a basic idea of how Invictus works, I'm going to fast forward a few turns so that you may be able to see these Greek gods in action after they have developed their strategies a little bit more.